These things take time. I know it looks easy to the lame person out there in the audience going, wow, that looks pretty darn easy. But it takes months and a lot of planning. The folks would have come, and I planned on having them there, even Dolly. But you don't just call them out. I mean, you have work that you have to do. You have to get all your people together, all in place, because when you bring acts like that in, you have to plan ahead, or you got to tear your systems down, your sets and all that, and that's very difficult and very expensive. So to say that they weren't coming, that is not true. They were coming. But then again, you have to plan ahead and make sure you got enough money to pay them, and I believe we were running short of money, weren't we?
Why were you running?
I don't know. It wasn't available to me. Maybe the city can tell you.
Additional questions? Mr. Cox.
Oh, Mr. Cox, how are you?
Jonathan Cox from the News and Observer. Who do you think then is most responsible for the problems that happened at the theater?
You know, I don't think that there's anybody, well, I'm not blaming anybody. I've been in this business a long time. I know there were several feasibility studies done, but we had nothing at home and started out with nothing, and it could have happened. It just takes time. So I'm not blaming anybody. I'm getting quite a bit of it myself. So whoever deserves the blame will probably get it in the end, but I'm not blaming anybody. I mean, I did what I was supposed to do, and I did it well, and I honored my agreements completely, and that's it.
You mentioned the management team that you had, which I assume was Mike and Kathy Scott that you had. I guess first, is that who you're referring to? And secondly, what happened with them? Did you fire them, and if so,
I don't know. Nick, do you want to, should I address, you should address this?
The management team that Moonlight Bandit had was in a couple of different formats over time. And at some point in time, yes, Mike and Kathy Scott were part of the management team. But as far as personnel matters, I think most of you certainly know that those are private matters, and we're not going to discuss those this morning, but thank you.
My name is Cullen Browder. I'm with WRAL-TV. You mentioned the feasibility study. Since you're saying everything needed to be in place for this all to work, and when it wasn't, when it was time to start the show, was there a conversation that now's not the time, we need to have more in place, we need to have better planning? Was there any sort of conversation at that point, or was it, well, we're just going to go on with what we have?
Well, I guess that was kind of the take on it. I mean, the building was ready. I mean, the city wanted to for me to take it over, even though there's nothing there. I mean, that's all I can say about that. I mean, it's obviously it wasn't there. I don't know why the things weren't built, and that probably will come in time. I think it will succeed. These things are not easy. We just got our jobs done sooner. Is that, I guess that's your answer? Is that what you're looking for? I mean, I wouldn't call into a room and said, well, you know, there's nothing out there, but you got to take the building. But yes, I'm sure the city would like for me to take over the payments and start making the notes on it, and I did. And
what specifically are you asking for today? I mean, you say you want to clear your name. Do you plan to sue the city to try and get the remainder of your contract? What are you asking for today?
No, Nick, what are we asking for today?
Well, what we're asking for today is to, one, let Randy have the opportunity to just explain why he came to Roanoke Rapids, what he did when he got to Roanoke Rapids, and what he established at Roanoke Rapids. As far as the contractual relations that Randy has with the city, we look forward to sitting down with the city, having some discussions, and seeing if we can both reach a resolution that is satisfactory to Mr. Parton, and certainly something that's going to be satisfactory to the city. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm Cassie Seyfried from News 14 Carolina.
Hi, Kathy.
Hey, and I just wanted to know that the city leaders, some of the city leaders have said that you misused taxpayer money. So what do you say to that?
Carry on.
Well, good. Let me get in the fray of things. The monies that were spent within the guidelines of the agreement and the contract that was with the city. They were nominal expenses, but they were spent certainly within the guidelines of the city. And while I've got the podium, I'd just like to, on behalf of over 8 million people in the state of North Carolina and the leadership in the state of North Carolina, and also the city of Roanoke Rapids, I'd like to apologize on behalf of North Carolina to Randy Parton for coming here and lending himself and his family and his name to create an entirely new industry in the state of North Carolina. And to be treated the way he's been treated, I think, is just sad, because Roanoke Rapids is going to be very successful. That theater is an economic driver, and they're going to be very successful. And again, back to the expenditures, they were spent within the guidelines of what they were given for.
So a part of those accusations were that money was spent on alcohol, on trips. Can you speak specifically to those?
I think I can. We spent our own money, and then we turned in receipts whenever we deemed necessary to be reimbursed. Those receipts were given to people that were working for Moonlight Bandit, and their job was to discern where that reimbursement came from. There was $20,000 of private money that was in a fund, and then there was public money in another fund. So the people that worked for us had a responsibility to take it out of whichever pile of money, the private or the public money, that they chose. So they're the ones that decided where that money was reimbursed. But again, what you're talking about is a very nominal amount of money in the scheme of things. Out of $3 million, that money is so nominal. But it was, again, and you have to keep in mind that there is a law in the state of North Carolina that says you can spend public money when you're in the pursuance of economic development and industrial recruitment.
Garrick Brenner with WTVD in the back.
Okay.
Mr. Parton, thanks
Yes,
for
sir.
coming to
Hi,
Jerry.
Gary.
I'm Garrick Brenner from WTVD. It's been widely reported in a lot of media that, as was mentioned just a minute ago, that you spent Roanoke Rapids City money on trips to Las Vegas, on alcohol from ABC stores, and the mayor apparently banned you from the theater after he says you showed up inebriated. What should people think about this as you were asked to judge your management of the theater?
I'm sorry, I can't hardly hear you. Repeat that again.
What should people think of this stuff that's been reported about being banned from the theater after the mayor says you were inebriated?
I think they were going to think what they want to think. I showed up to do my job as I always did. I did my sound check, as I normally do. I checked with my monitor guy who's worked for me off and on for 20 years to make sure that all my wirelesses were re-batteried up and ready to go, and went to my room and got dressed, and then we had a little conversation, and they asked me to leave, and I did. End of story.
Yes, Ken Heineck with WITN. Randy?
Yes, sir. All right, Ken.
First of all, I got two questions. First of all, what's your relationship with the Dunlows, Michael and Kevin and all the Dunlows, the Dunlow family, right now?
Well, we're good friends.
Are you guys business partners at all?
Somewhat, I mean, that's...
Randy is involved in several things that are still going on in the area. But again, those are matters between Randy and other private parties. And, we're not here to discuss those relationships.
And second of all, that night, do you go back to that night where the city says you were inebriated? Whether that be the case or not, do you believe that you were, quote unquote, kicked out of Roanoke Rapids because of one night? Or do you believe do you think they were out to get you eventually for whatever reason?
Well, I think they wanted me to leave. Obviously they did. And I guess that was their way of getting around it. And I believe that the mayor made several comments on TV, and that's all I got to say about that. What they think is what they think.
How does it make you feel?
It doesn't make me very happy. It makes me very sad, because I worked very hard. My family worked very hard. We uprooted our home. And if I think one of the reporters here wrote that we had a very little humble home in East Tennessee, and I was pretty damn glad to get back to it, because it is just a little Tennessee mountain home, and I love it. So, but I like to hear, and there's a lot of nice folks in Roanoke Rapids, and I think they need help. I think they don't need a handout, they need a helping hand. And we tried our best to do that.
Hey, Randy, I'm Matt Ehlers with the News and Observer.
Yes, sir.
Nice to see you again. What's your relationship right now with Rick Watson? Is there a business relationship there?
Me and Rick Watson are still friends. Rick Watson started this a long time ago, came through Dollywood and had a dream and just asked us, recruited us to just come out and take a look. That he felt like that North Carolina could use a shot in the arm, so to speak, because they had lost a lot of textiles and things like that. And as you well know, entertainment, theme parks and things like that is big business now, because a lot of our jobs are going overseas and stuff.